Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Ever since I started doing book review videos, which I did every month in 2021, I have been getting a ton of questions about different book recommendations that I have. So I thought, why not give you the ultimate book recommendation video, which would be all of my 5-star reads in 2021. I read 48 books in 2021, which was my goal for the year. My goal for the year was to read 4 books per month to meet my 48 book goal, which is what I did. Out of those 48 books, 11 of them were 5-star reads. I did not include the holiday ones in this, so if you watch my holiday book review video, which I posted I think last week or the week before, I will have it linked down below. I'll have my whole playlist of all my book review videos down below. In that video, I do explain that I noticed with holiday reads, I went into it more about being entertained, not about really getting, caught up in the ratings of it. So most of those books were 5-star reads. I think only one of them may not have been. So I did not include these in the 11 of the 48. So just so you know that. Since I do have full reviews of all of these books on my channel, I will only share with you in this video just a synopsis of each book. I'm not going to give you all my feelings and all of that because you can go check out those full links down there below. I'll just have a link to all the full review videos and which video each of these books are in. So I'll have all those linked down there. So let's go into all of my 5-star reads in 2021. The first one, and these are in order of how I read them, I believe is how I put them in there. But they're really not in any particular order, obviously, since they're all 5-star reads. Book number 1 was A Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I could completely be pronouncing that wrong. This is a mystery, thriller, suspense. So this is about missing people. So we have Shelby, who goes missing first, and then we have Meredith and her 6-year-old daughter, Delilah. They've vanished just blocks away from Shelby was last seen. So of course everybody's getting really upset about that, and they want to know if their incidents are connected, but eventually the cases go cold. Well, 11 years later, Delilah returns. So everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they'll find. So this book is definitely a twisty ride that will keep you guessing. Book number 2 was Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. This is a romantic comedy. This is about single mom Jess. She is a hard worker. She's a single mom raising her daughter on her own. She was raised by her grandparents. Her grandparents now are helping her raise her daughter, Juno, who is 7 years old. She just is not really ready to go out to the dating world, but then she hears about this new DNA-based matchmaking company that is supposed to match you up with your perfect match based on your DNA. So Jess decides to go ahead and submit her DNA to this matchmaking company to see what comes about. And this book, seriously, you guys, is so sweet. It's so funny. It's really utterly predictable, but in a good way. Definitely in a good way. And it is so charming. Highly, highly recommend this book and anything else by Christina Lauren. Book number 3 was The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is also a romantic comedy. This book is about Shay Goldstein. She has been a producer at a Seattle public radio station for like a decade, I believe. And she can't imagine working anywhere else. But lately it's just been a constant clash between her and her newest colleague, Dominic. And he's like fresh off like college. Like he just got his journalism master's program, and he's convinced he knows everything about public radio. So when the struggling station decides they need a new concept, Shay proposes a show that her boss greenlights with excitement. So On the X Talk is the name of the show. 2 exes will deliver relationship advice live on air. Their boss decides that Shay and Dominic are the perfect co-hosts, even though they're not like exes technically. But they don't get along, they're always fighting, so he chose those 2 to do it. And given how much they already despise each other, they just thought it would be a perfect idea. Neither loves the idea of lying to the listeners, but this is either this or unemployment. It was like they were given a choice. You do this show or you lose your job. Their audience gets invested fast, and it's not long before The X Talk becomes a must-listen in Seattle and climbs the podcast charts. So this book was so much fun. It was like really lighthearted. It was cute. The banter between the main characters was hilarious, which is always what happens with a enemies to lovers type trope. So definitely highly recommend this book. And I have not read anything else by Rachel Lynn Solomon, but I do have a couple of books on my TBR list. So let me know if you've read anything else by her and what you would recommend. Book number 4 was Every Last Fear by Alex Finlay. This was a mystery thriller suspense. This book is about Matt Pine. So he has a late night party. He returns to his dorm and has devastating news waiting for him there. So nearly his entire family, his mom, his dad, his little brother and little sister, have been found dead from an apparent gas leak while vacationing in Mexico. The local police claim it was an accident, but the FBI and State Department seem far less certain, and they won't tell Matt why. The tragedy makes headlines everywhere because this isn't the first time that the Pine family has been thrust into the media. Matt's older brother, Danny, who is currently serving a life sentence for murder of his teenage girlfriend, Charlotte. And so it was a subject of they had this viral, true crime, documentary in their town, and they came to their small little town and they did this whole documentary on his brother and the family, and it really brought in a lot of animosity with the rest of the townspeople because they were all brought into it not necessarily on the most positive light. So they kind of look down on this family. So when Matt tries to go back to the town to try to figure out what is going on and figure out who may have killed his family, he's not really greeted with open arms. And though the country has rallied behind Danny, Matt does hold a secret about his brother that he's never told anyone. The night that Charlotte was killed, Matt saw something that makes him believe his brother is guilty of the crime. This book is so action-packed. I mean, action-packed. It definitely could be a movie. I don't know if I've heard anything about it being a movie, but I can definitely see this as an action movie. I think it'd be really good. It is so riveting, twisty, and it was absolutely so hard to put down. Book number 5 was called Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier. This is also a mystery thriller suspense. As you can tell, this is one of my favorite genres of all time. This book is about Marin. Marin had the perfect life. She's married to her college sweetheart, Derek. She owns her own chain of upscale hair salons, and her husband runs his own company. They're admired in their community, and they're a very loving family until their world falls apart when their son, Sebastian, is kidnapped. I believe he was 5 at the time. A year later, Marin is a shadow of herself. The FBI search has gone cold, the publicity has faded, and she and her husband, they rarely talk at this time. She hires a PI to pick up where the police left off, but instead of finding Sebastian, she learns that Derek is having an affair with a younger woman. The discovery sparks Marin back to life. She's lost her son. She's not about to lose her husband too. Kenzie, the mistress, is an enemy with a face, which means this is a problem that Marin can fix permanently. If you like dark, twisty, edge of your seat suspense novels, this is definitely one that you want to read. Book number 6 is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, another Christina Lauren, and this is not the last. I believe there's one more in this list. This is a romantic comedy. So this is about Olive. Olive is so unlucky, her career, her love life, everything. She just has nothing but a streak of bad luck going on. Her identical twin sister, Amy, on the other hand, is the luckiest person. She not only had the cutest story about meeting her fiance, she's managed to finance her entire wedding by winning a series of internet contests. Worst of all, she's forcing Olive to spend the day with her sworn enemy, Ethan, who just happens to be the best man. Olive braces herself to get through 24 hours of wedding hell before she can return to her comfortable, unlucky life. But when the entire wedding party gets food poisoning from eating bad shellfish, the only people who are unaffected are Olive and Ethan. Now there's an all-expense-paid honeymoon in Hawaii up for grabs. Putting their mutual hatred aside for the sake of a free vacation, Olive and Ethan head for paradise, determined to avoid each other at all costs. But when Olive runs into her future boss, the little white lie that she tells him is suddenly at risk to become a whole lot bigger. She and Ethan now have to pretend to be loving newlyweds, and her luck seems worse than ever. So this was actually the first Christina Lauren book that I read. So these are not in order of how I read them. Because this was definitely the first one, and this is the one that made me want to read more of hers. Highly, highly recommend this book. It is hilarious. So if you want to read a first-time book by Christina Lauren, I highly recommend this one to be your first one. Book number 7, another Christina Lauren book. This one is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, and this is also a romantic comedy. So Josh has known Hazel since college. She was a mess. She was zany. She was completely incompatible for him because he was mellow and calm, and she's zany and completely crazy. So from the first night that they met, when she gracelessly threw up on his shoes, to when she sent him a crazy email that she did while she had surgery. So after her surgery, she decided to send him an email to apologize, and it was really just insane and crazy email. He always thought of her more as a spectacle than a peer. But now, 10 years later, after a cheating girlfriend has turned her life upside down, going out with Hazel is a fresh of breath air. So they meet up again 10 years later, and she's the same, he's the same, but he just looks at her at a different light. But they don't date. Josh and Hazel don't date each other, but because they think they're incompatible. So they're setting up each other with blind dates that they go on together. So they have double dates together with other people as their dates. And you guys, these dates are hilarious. They just get funnier and funnier and funnier every single date. It is such a sweet, endearing read. Highly recommend this one. It is so funny. Don't read the reviews on this one. I've made the mistake of reading reviews on this one, and I almost didn't read it because there's so many people who are disappointed with the ending. But again, reading is subjective. I thought the ending was fine, but I would just highly recommend going into this without reading reviews and just make your own assumption on it. Book number 8 was called The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is also a romantic comedy. You may recognize this name because this book has just been made into a movie. I cannot wait to see it because I'm sure it's just an amazing movie. I'm sure it is. Lucy has always been certain that the nice girl can get the corner office. She's charming, she's accommodating, she prides herself on being loved by everyone at the company she works at, Bexley and Gammon. Everyone except for the cold but very efficient, impeccably attired, physically intimidating Joshua Templeman. And the feeling is mutual. They both don't like each other. They have to share an office because both of their bosses are like at the head of the company, and so they are their executive assistants. So they sit in this outside their boss's offices in this little room. So they share an office, so they have to constantly interact with each other. But they've been like entrenched in this addictive, ridiculous, never-ending game of like one-upping each other. So they have the staring game, the mirror game, the HR game. Lucy cannot let Josh beat her at anything, and he feels the same way. But especially there's now a new like big promotion comes up for the taking, and they both are vying for it. So the games definitely are starting to amp up. This book basically has everything you could possibly want out of a romance. The book is also, like I said, recently made into a movie, so highly recommend. Let me know if you've seen the movie because I really want to hear if it's like kept true to form of the book, because that's always one thing that like upsets me when books are not made into movies like very well. But I feel like romantic comedies are always a lot better than like thrillers and horror and things like that. So I feel like romantic comedies are done usually a little bit better. Book number 9 was called Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This was a mystery thriller suspense. This book was so good. Oh my gosh, talk about crazy. So this book is about Jack and Grace. Jack has the looks, the wealth, she has the charm and the elegance. From the outside, everything looks perfect. Everybody knows, Jack and Grace. He's an attorney. He's never lost a case. She is a flawless homemaker, masterful gardener, masterful cook. She dotes on her disabled younger sister. And though they are still newlyweds, they seem to have it all. You may not want to like them, but you do. I mean, people look like, oh, they're so perfect couple. I hate them, but you like them because they are nice people. You're just hopelessly charmed by the ease and comfort of their home, by the graciousness of the dinner parties they throw. You'd like to get to know Grace better. However, it's difficult because for some reason, Jack and Grace are inseparable. Like, they are never apart. Some might call this true love. Others might wonder why Grace never answers the phone, why she never can meet for coffee even though she doesn't work, how she can cook such elaborate meals but remain so slim, and why are there such high security metal shutters on all of the downstairs windows. Some might wonder what's really going on once the dinner party is over and the front door is closed. If you're a fan of domestic suspense thrillers, you definitely will want to read this book. Book number 10 was called The Last Flight by Julie Clark. This is also a mystery thriller suspense. This book is about Claire Cook. Claire Cook has the perfect life, but behind closed doors, nothing is quite as it seems. The perfect husband has a temper that burns as bright as his promising political career, and he's not above using his staff to track Claire's every single move. What he doesn't know is that Claire has worked for months on a plan to vanish. A chance meeting in an airport bar brings her together with a woman whose circumstances seem equally dire. Together they make a last-minute decision to switch tickets. Claire taking Eva's flight to Oakland and Eva traveling to Puerto Rico as Claire. But when the flight to Puerto Rico goes down and crashes, Claire realizes it's no longer a head start, but a new life. Cut off out of options with the news of her death about to explode in the media, Claire will assume Eva's identity and along with it the secrets that Eva fought so hard to keep hidden. Oh my God, you guys, this is a wild ride. It is so full of intrigue. It has such a unique plot, that whole like trading identities thing. It was such a unique plot. But this book was impossible to put down. Impossible. And the last 5-star read I'm going to tell you about is called The Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is also a mystery, thriller, suspense. 10 years ago, a college student, Quincy Carpenter, went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone, the only survivor of a horror movie scale massacre. In an instant, she became a member of a club that no one wants to belong to, which is a group of similar survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa, who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout's knife, Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the Nightlight Inn, and now Quincy, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape Pine Cottage, and the man she refers to only as him. The 3 girls are all attempting to put their nightmares behind them, but of course the media won't let them because that's how the media is. And they really don't want to meet or anything. They just want to live their lives and just go on and not even think about what happened in their lives. But, however, Sam seeks Quincy out after the tragic death of Lisa, and Quincy's life becomes a race against time as she tries to unravel Sam's truths from her lies. This book was quite the wild ride, and I loved every single second of it. There you go, guys. All 11 5-star reads that I read in 2021. Let me know if you have read any of these books that I mentioned, and if you also gave them 5 stars, what you thought about them. Again, I will have all the books linked down below. I will have all the review videos, the full review videos, linked down below with timestamps, so you can go click right to the timestamp in the book review video of where I talk about this particular book, and you can hear all of my thoughts on the book, not just the synopsis, but you can read all my thoughts about it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.